Hello everyone, welcome to my video this week. A big welcome to all my tennis friends and all you tennis fans out there who are back for more videos, and to all of you guys who are new to this channel. So how is everyone doing? I hope you guys are having a fabulous week so far. I hope you guys are all enjoying the tennis action from Miami so far. So before I continue on with my video this week, I would like to share with you guys another tennis podcast that I have been listening to recently, and that is Fantastic Tennis Podcast by John Garriga. A big shout out to John. So before I go into what you guys will expect from his podcast, I would just like to show some love and gratitude to John for spending his time and putting so much hard work and efforts into doing a podcast related to tennis all by himself. The amount of homework that he has to do to get to know each and every player before he had them on podcast literally shined when he was just able to communicate with them so fluently and effortlessly, and it just feels like he have known the players for ages. Yeah, and so going back to what you guys will expect from his podcast, as a tennis fanatic perspective point of view, I think it is very important that not only should we draw our attention to the scores and matches that are going on, it is also very important to listen to all these interesting stories from these players that we might not be able to have the opportunity to know about without John having them on the podcast. Therefore, I just want to emphasize on why I love to share this podcast with you guys. So if you guys are big fans of tennis players like Coco Vandeweghe, Jelena Dokic, my current favorite player on the tour right now, Jessica Pegula, Daniel Collins, Barbara Strikova, and her recent interview with Nadia Petrova, and many more other players as well, please check out Fantastic Tennis Podcast on Apple Podcasts and Spotify, which I will also be leaving the links to his podcast on my description box down below. So feel free to support and subscribe to his podcast, whereby he has new episodes every week. So for my video this week, I would like to talk about some of the tennis players who have made some of the greatest comebacks in a tennis history from their injuries. And for this week, I will just be focusing on the WTA players, and the reason why is because this week I was so inspired by the great results from Anna Konjuh, who got to the round of 16 in Miami Open this week. So let me give you a brief introduction to who Anna Konjuh is. Anna Konjuh, who had a really successful junior career, winning both singles and doubles in the 2013 Australian Open and winning 2013 US Open junior singles titles as well. She transited into the professional tour the following year in 2014 and made her debut in the top 100 at the age of 16. She won her first WTA singles title following year in Nottingham. Followed that up, she reached the quarterfinals in the US Open in 2016, and she managed to crack into the top 20 in 2017. Unfortunately, injuries started hindering her, specifically a chronic elbow problem that she had since she was 12, and she required 4 surgeries and kept her away from the game for 3 years. So this week in Miami, Konjuh got her first main draw win in after 3 years. She defeated the number 18 seed Madison Keys and recorded an upset against the number 15 seed Iga Swiatek. Well, not only is she back with great results, from what I've seen from her matches this week in Miami, I feel that she is also back with an Anna Konjuh 2.0 version, with the same amount of firepower that she used to have, but more patience and more efficient this time round. This week in Miami, I am very glad to see that after all those obstacles that she has been through over the years, she is back with good results, and it will be very interesting to see how she will fare for the rest of the year if she continues on with a great momentum from this week. So going back to what I would like to talk about in my video this week, while tennis injuries or any injuries from sports are very common, and we have a lot of other players aside from Konjuh who have made some incredible comebacks from the injuries or illness in their tennis career. So I would just like to share with you guys some of the players who have made some incredible comebacks in the tennis history as well. Please do take note that I will not be ranking their comebacks because I feel making a comeback from tennis injuries or any injuries are certainly not easy. It takes a lot of hard work and courage to get back competitively. Therefore, to me, all of their comebacks should be equally respected and is all equally admirable to me as well. So without further ado, let's begin the video for this week. So first up, I would like to talk about a former top 20 player who has been as high as number 12 in her career singles rankings and who is also a former Wimbledon finalist in 2011 doubles and 2013 singles, Sabine Lisicki. So Lisicki is known for her hard-hitting baseline abilities with her forehand and her backhand, and definitely her powerful serve, whereby she recorded the fastest serve in the WTA Tour. Lisicki's injury started in March 2010 when she suffered from an ankle injury at the Indian Wells Open that kept her out of the competition for 5 months and saw her fall out of the top 200. She rebounded in 2011 and won the Aegon Classic before entering the Wimbledon as a wildcard, and going on to reach the semifinals where she lost to Maria Sharapova, becoming only the second woman in Wimbledon history to make it to the semifinals as a wildcard. She followed that up by winning her third WTA title in the Texas Open. And in 2012, she managed to achieve her career high ranking of number 12 and eventually got to another quarterfinals of Wimbledon. Well, despite the comeback success in 2012, she suffered from another injury that prevented her from having better results after that. However, in 2013, she was able to make it to her first Grand Slam finals in Wimbledon, which she lost to Marion Bartoli in straight sets. Since then, after 2013 to even last year 2020, she was constantly hindered with injuries and illness, which included a career-threatening injury at Linz whereby she fell awkwardly and injured her knee, and in the end it was confirmed that she tore her ACL. Personally, I have been following Lisicki on her career since 2009 and even on her Instagram. And despite all the misfortunes that have happened to her, she's always still so positive and bubbly. And that is why I love so much about her. And apparently, she also appeared in my friend John's podcast as well. So if you guys are interested to hear about her stories, feel free to check out on that episode in Fantastic Tennis Podcast as well. So from one of my favorite German tennis players to another favorite German tennis player, who is also a former top 10 player and a French Open Grand Slam semifinalist, Andre Pakovic. So Andre Pakovic is a very beautiful ball striker with a very good all-court game and is probably one of the nicest players on and off the courts. And in 2012, Pakovic suffered 3 separate injuries, from a back injury to an ankle injury and then a knee injury, and then kept her out of for 9 months and saw her fall out of the top 200. She rebounded in 2014 by winning 3 WTA singles titles and getting into the semifinals of the French Open. And she also ended the year back in the top 20s at number 13. Personally, I remember watching her winning the title in Charleston in 2014, and like her, I was in tears after seeing her win. The tears of joy, the tears of all the injuries that held her back. It was really such a joy for me on TV to see that she's finally back to her best to compete at the level that she belonged to. So next up, I would like to talk about a player who have recently won the comeback player a few years back in 2018, someone who has been as high as number 4 in the world and a semifinalist at the 2018 US Open, Belinda Bencic. Well, Bencic, as many started knowing her as when she first appeared in a professional tour where she was constantly compared to Martina Hingis because Belinda had been coached by Hingis' mom, Melanie Molitor, when she was young. So just like Hingis, Bencic possesses a great backhand, but she's able to hit more winners as she is physically taller and stronger than Hingis. She also excels at hitting the ball early on the rise and is very capable of turning defense into offense at redirecting cross-court shots down the line. From 2016 to 2018, Bencic struggled with a variety of injuries, most notably need to have a wrist surgery in 2017 that kept her out for 5 months and saw her ranking drop outside the top 300. However, she rebounded quickly enough and rose back into the top 50 within a year of her comeback. She then posted her best season to date in 2019 by winning her second Premier 5 title in Dubai Tennis Championships and reaching her first Grand Slam semifinals at the US Open. And not only that, she managed to qualify for her first WTA finals, whereby she reached the semifinals and eventually she ended the year inside the top 10 for the very first time. Personally, I feel that the comeback from Bencic have definitely allowed her to become more matured mentally as a tennis player and a person as well. So next up, another one of the nicest players in the WTA Tour, a two times Wimbledon Grand Slam singles champion and a 2016 Olympic singles bronze medalist, Petra Kvitova. Well, Kvitova is a beautiful ball striker, as we all know, from the baseline, which allows her to hit powerful winners around the court. She also has a fast and well placed serve that allows her to hit easy winners from it, and not forgetting her great volley abilities, which allowed her to excel well on fast courts, especially on the grass. So on 20th December 2016, Kvitova was robbed at her apartment in Czech Republic, and she suffered multiple lacerations to the tendons and nerves on her left hand and fingers while defending herself. She had to undergo surgery and sit out the next 6 months in order to fully recover. Well, after going through all the process of recovery, she made her return in French Open in 2017 with a win in the first round before losing to Bethany Maddox-Sands in the following round. Well, it did took Kvitova for a while to get back to her best in 2018, whereby she won 5 WTA titles and a re-entry into the top 5, followed up by reaching the finals of Australian Open in 2019. Well, as I mentioned before, Petra is one of the nicest players on the tour, and it was actually very comforting for me to see her finally getting back to the top after what she has been through. And seriously, it was something that no one needs to go through. So next up, I would like to talk about one of my friend John's favorite player, a former world number one player, a multiple Grand Slam champion, and a multiple Olympic medalist, Victoria Azarenka. By the way, John, if you're watching this video, we really need that shirt of Vika that you wore in Miami, and I seriously mean it. I will buy it if you publish it, really, like seriously. Uh, yeah, moving on. Well, Beaker was probably one of the players that I view in her prime. With her beautiful, aggressive ball striking abilities in 2012 to 2014 and even in 2020, she was able to go toe to toe against Serena Williams. For example, one of my favorite US Open finals in 2012 between them, which I believe everyone remembered, and the following US Open finals in 2013 as well. I felt that during her prime, Serena Williams was the only reason why Vika has only won 2 Australian Open titles. Well, moving on to Vika's injuries. Vika's injuries began in 2014 season when she was blighted by a foot injury which forced her to miss 5 months of the season and call an early end of a season in September, including the 2014 French Open. And in 2016, we saw a glimpse of her comeback by winning the Sunshine Double in Indian Wells and Miami, and her re entry into the top 5. However, injury strikes again in Rome. She had to retire in her first round match in the French Open and withdraw from Wimbledon due to a knee injury. On the same year, Vika was pregnant and gave birth to a baby boy named Leo as well. She spent the next few years with most of her success in the doubles field. Well, last year in 2020, she managed to find some of her form back and won her first title since 2016 and got into her first Grand Slam final since 2013. Well, Vika is definitely one of the players who have definitely been through a lot. And I feel personally that over the years that after all she had been through, she has definitely grew a lot mentally, not only just as a player, but also as a person as well. So moving on from one Grand Slam champion to another Grand Slam champion, a former world number one player as well with 49 singles titles, which includes 7 Grand Slam singles titles, 14 Grand Slam doubles titles, and a 5 times Olympic medalist, Venus Williams. Well, over the years, she has shown us her all-court game that she possesses with her powerful serves and ground strokes and her great net skill abilities with her long arm spans. Unlike the others on the list, Venus' remarkable comeback in 2017 was not an injury, but a debilitating illness. And because of that, she struggled with extreme fatigue for several years before, which certainly accounts for the steep fall after winning her fifth Wimbledon title in 2008. Well, despite the illness over the next few years, Venus continued to play with a remarkable power of serve and ground strokes. Well, almost after a decade later, she finally made her comeback, unexpectedly at 2017 Australian Open, whereby she defeated players like Anastasia Pavlyuchenkova and Coco Vandeweghe, and making a fairy tale comeback into the finals, which was ended with a loss to Serena Williams. But not only that, she continued the year with another Grand Slam finals in Wimbledon, whereby she lost to Gabinier Muguruza. And at the end of the year, she also qualified for the WTA finals and made it to the finals, whereby she lost to the champion Caroline Wozniacki. Well, despite the loss, she also finished the year ranked number 5 and topped the prize money list for 2017. Well, since then, Venus has constantly been struggling with her illness and some of her injuries as well. But personally, like, I feel Venus is a legend, blank point period. I don't care what you guys feel. Well, she have done so much for the sports over the years, and she showed what a fighter she was over the years despite her illness and injuries. And many players would have chose to retire from tennis if they were in her shoes, but unlike others, she chose to play on after so many years and is still playing at the moment. And she's definitely a role model to a lot of the kids out there, and definitely for me as well. So last but not least, I would like to end with one of the greatest comebacks from a legend. Also a former world number one with 9 Grand Slam singles titles and an Olympic bronze medalist, Monica Seles. As many tennis fans of Seles would have known from the beauty of the game, her unconventional double-handed forehand and backhand whereby she could hit flat with relentless speed, power, and depth. And because of her two-handed ground stroke, she could create sharp angles around the court and hit winners at will. She was also an aggressive return player, whereby she would stand within the baseline to return serves. Salah's greatest strength was her confidence, self-belief, and mental toughness, which made her one of the toughest players to beat on the WTA tour. One of the greatest comebacks from injury in tennis history got to be Monica Seles in 1996, when she won the Australian Open for the fourth time, nearly 3 years after being stabbed on the court by a deranged fan of Steffi Graf. The attack was not really an injury at all, but the result of a premeditated attack on the tennis court, very similar to what happened to Kvitova. By contrast, Seles was attacked on the world stage in front of the world's cameras and was almost killed. And after nearly a quarter of a century, it's hard to imagine how awful this attack must be for Seles. Well, it took her almost 2 years of extensive physical and no doubt mental rehabilitation to return to the women's tour. And at times, she lost not only her world number one ranking, but also the aura of dominance that she has established in the early 90s when she had won 8 major titles in just under 3 years. When she finally returned to the summer of 1995, it was inevitable that she was not the same player as before. As even the greatest champions know, once you have lost your aura of invincibility, it is almost impossible to regain it. Therefore, that makes Seles' trump at 1996 Australian Open one of the greatest comeback from injury in tennis history. To end my video today, I just want to say this. As you guys can tell from my video today, most of the players that I chose to share are players that I feel have or had more potential in their career. However, they were denied by misfortunes from attacks, injuries, and to illness. But despite everything that they have been through, they did not give up in what they love to do. They persevered and they managed to make a comeback. So to everyone out there who have been suffering from any setbacks from what you love to do, despite tennis or any other sports, I hope you guys would hang in there and remember why you love doing what you love all this while. So that is the end of my video this week. If you guys have any other interesting comeback stories in the tennis history, please feel free to share with me in the comments down below. And yeah, so don't forget to like and share this video, subscribe to my channel, and I will see you guys next week.